What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a tattoo tour video. I'm filming this video for two reasons. One, because I feel like I have a lot of tattoos. Not a ton, but a good handful that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about and show you. Secondly, if you have tattoos, you already know this. Whenever we go out in public, whenever we go anywhere, everyone always is like,
"Oh my god, I love your tattoos. Did it hurt? What are they about?" Blah, 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 blah.
So I'm filming this video for not only showing you guys, but for when people ask me in public, I'll be like, here's my video about my tattoos, how much they hurt, when I got them, what they all mean, and etc. So if you guys would like to see my tattoos and know a little bit more about them, then just keep watching. Before we get started, I'm actually going to take photos of all my tattoos and just put them as like a clip in the video so I don't have to be like awkwardly moving and showing you guys my tattoos and have you be going like,
I can't see it.
So the first tattoo I ever got was actually a little bit of a secret. It's actually my zodiac sign. It's a symbol for a Leo and it's on my rib cage. I got it because I'm a Leo and I knew that I wanted my first tattoo to be something that was like me, I guess, because I just really wanted a tattoo and I didn't want to get something big. I didn't want it where anyone could see it. I just wanted to be something that I knew was about me and not about anything else. And I'm a Leo, and it's not necessarily like a zodiac thing where like I love being a Leo, even though I do. It's more for the fact of I really think that the attributes of a Leo, as far as being like a natural born leader and just being courageous, I feel like I really represent in my own life, which is probably why I'm a Leo. So that was my first tattoo, and I remember walking into the tattoo shop and hearing the needles going, and the guy had me lay down. I had my arm over my head and I could just hear my heartbeat like in my head. I was so nervous, like I was sweating horribly. It was like so exciting, but I was so nervous. I remember laying on the tattoo table and I was like, oh my god, I'm so cool. I'm such a badass. And now fast forward, I have like almost my half sleeve done and I'm like, Morgan. My pain scale is a little wonky because I have like a really high pain tolerance. So some people like cry when they get tattoos. I've never cried. I never tapped out for any of my tattoos. The one on my rib cage I think was probably around a 5 or a 6, purely because I had so much adrenaline going on that I didn't really feel it or realize what was going on. I just kind of felt like itchy. And a lot of people say you always regret your first tattoo. I actually don't. I really like my first tattoo and it's something that I still really stand by. The only thing I do regret about it is that I used such a small and dark heavy piece on such a large canvas area, which I don't know if I'd ever want to fill like my ribcage area, but if I did, I'd have to use this side because I don't really know how I would work around that unless I like incorporated it somehow, but I don't want it to look really like mismatched or anything like that. But beyond that, I actually still really like my first tattoo. So no, not everybody always regrets their first tattoo. The second tattoo I got was the arrow on the back of my arm right here. When I first got it, it was actually just the X lines and then the four most important relationships in my life, which is a G for God, a B for Brad, who's my dad, an N for Nancy, who's my mom, and then an M for myself, Morgan. Just a coincidence that they both start with M. I got it because those are like obviously the four most important relationships in my life, and I really just need to remind myself of that. So sometimes when I'm, lotioning up my arm or whatever, I can just look at that and remind myself, I still have these four people and everything is good. As far as level of pain, I think this one took about 15-20 minutes and it was one of the least painful tattoos I got. I'd say it was probably like a 2 or 3. Wasn't bad at all. And then I added the wreath later on, but we'll get to that. The third tattoo I got was actually this one right here on my wrist, and it says "one day at a time." As you guys know, I have really bad anxiety and depression. I actually got this when I was going through a pretty rough time in my life, and my dad would text me every single day, ask me how I'm doing, and at least once a day he would tell me, "Morgan, just take it one day, one step, one breath at a time. So just take it one day at a time. Just make it through today, and you'll wake up tomorrow and then you just got to make it through tomorrow." This is honestly probably still one of my favorite tattoos just because it is something that I need to remind myself a lot about, and I feel like a lot of people need to remind themselves, we can't get so ahead of ourselves for everything all the time. I like the position of it and the font that I picked, so I really like it. As far as pain, it actually is like on the bone. I'd say this one was probably like a 4 just because when you got closer to the wrist it was a little bit more tender, but up here it wasn't so bad. And that one probably took, again, like 20 minutes. The fourth tattoo I got, it was actually like 2 kind of tattoos into one. It was the bird and the coordinates on my arm. So I got the coordinates of lacrosse because that's where I'm from. And then I got the bird because my favorite all-time song is Rhiannon by Stevie Nicks. There's a line in the song that goes, "She rules her life like a bird in flight." And I, again, feel like I really relate to that. I also just really liked the timelessness, I guess you could say, of the traditional bird. And I've wanted one like ever since I got my first tattoo. I knew I was eventually going to get a bird. like that. So I've always loved like the Sailor Jerry sparrows with the hearts and everything. The bird itself wasn't awful because it kind of starts on the top of my bicep, so the tip of the wing here was a little bit tender, but the rest of the bird I would say was probably like a 4 or a 5. But the coordinates, because they're right above the trench of my arm, those were actually a lot more tender than I thought. I'd say that was probably like a 7. It wasn't like a horrible pain, but there was a couple times where he was kind of in the middle of my arm right by the trench that I was like, ooh, I don't like that. The 5th tattoo I got was this heart right here on my bicep, and that is for a couple reasons. One, I'm super, super, super emotional, and I've always been told my whole life growing up that I wear my heart on my sleeve. When I have my whole arm done, I'll actually have my heart on my sleeve. See what I did there? Another reason I got it, and something that's just a little bit more symbolic for me, I guess you could say, is my dad has had heart issues my whole life, basically. They actually got pretty bad when I was 10, and my dad had to have heart surgery. Kind of like a trying time in my life, and it's been something that we've been dealing with ever since. I definitely got my emotions and my heart on my sleeve from him. So it is just a nice little reminder about my dad too. I think this one took about closer to an hour. I'm not really sure. I don't really keep time in the chair. But that one was probably like a 7 or 8. I bruised super, super bad, like probably a 1/2 inch all the way around it, just because it was all right on the muscle. So this is the tattoo that I think was probably the most tender for the longest after getting it. Like, it was very sore to the touch for like a couple days after. My next tattoos I got kind of at the same time. So I got the wreath and the arrow fetchings around my 2nd tattoo, just because I thought it looked a little plain and I wanted something additional. There's no meaning, I just wanted it to look a little bit nicer. So I added those on there. And then the wave tattoo I got because my favorite band since I have been actually like 11, and it still is Mumford & Sons, and they have on their newest album called Delta, they have a song called Delta, and there's a part where it goes, I'll meet you at the Delta where the river runs into the sea. So the Greek symbol for Delta, as you all know, is a triangle, and I flipped the triangle upside down and then I put an ocean in it because I'll meet you at the Delta where the river runs into the sea. Delta triangle, sea. Boom. I have debated like touching this one up a little bit. I don't know as far as like if I want to just do shading or just maybe adding something onto it to make it look a little bit more clean. I really like it, but I feel like I just need to do something more to it. So as far as the pain level, the wreath and the arrows wasn't really that painful. I'd say it was maybe like a 3 or a 4. And those took, I think, about 1/2 hour, if that. And then the wave one wasn't horrible, but on the back of my arm, he got like towards the inside, kind of almost under my armpit. And that was really painful. That was probably like a 6 or a 7 as far as pain, but the rest of it was, I'd say, probably a 5. It wasn't awful, especially because I didn't do any really shading on it. So it was kind of a quicker tattoo and it wasn't super painful. So the next group of tattoos I got all at once, I got the moon with the crying tears just because I liked it. That's it. I don't have a meaning for it. I just liked the moon. And same with the watermelon. I also love watermelon, and the song Watermelon Sugar came out that summer by Harry Styles, and I was like, well, if people need a reason, I can tell them I like watermelon or I like Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles. But quite honestly, I just got a watermelon because I like watermelon, and I said, why not? So I got a watermelon. I think the moon one probably hurt the least. It was probably like a 2 because it was just so quick and there was no shading. And then the watermelon was a little bit more tender too. It was a little bit lower on my bicep here, and there was also shading in it. So that one was a little bit more painful. I'd say maybe like a 3, 4. But that one again was a smaller and quicker one, so it wasn't awful. So I got the moon, the watermelon, and this little F on my wrist all at one time. And everyone always says,
don't put your boyfriend or your girlfriend's name on your body.
So I didn't. I put an F, which is an initial, not a name. So I got the F because I love Fran and he's amazing. When I got it, I wasn't like nervous being like, oh my God, should I be tattooing this on me? Like, it's so small and it's gonna be super easy to cover up if needed. F is not only for Fran, but for Forrest, because I love my cat Forrest, my first fur baby. He is my pride and joy, I just love my cat so much. I can always just put a little Orist and make this word forest. It's seriously so small, but I like it because it's kind of like dainty and cute. And whenever I look at it, it just reminds me of Fran and how much he loves me. But also, this reminds me of Fran and how much he loves me too. That tattoo took not even 3 minutes. It was literally like one just go at it. It was on the wrist, so it was a little tender. I'd say like a 3 just because he did get on the bone a little bit, but that one wasn't awful because again, it was super quick and no shading involved. All the tattoos that I just talked about, from my second tattoo all the way up into the F, I actually got them all when I was living in the town we just moved from while I was still going to college. So I got those all within like a year to a year and a half. My most recent tattoo I got in lacrosse, and I don't want to say it's my favorite tattoo, but I think it's my favorite tattoo. It's a huge piece on my shoulder, as you guys can see, and it is a skull with plants and mushrooms, and I am just obsessed with it because I remember when I was like 13 when I first discovered Pinterest, and I was picking out all my tattoos I was gonna get when I turned 18 because I just wanted a tattoo so bad. And I remember seeing all these skulls with flowers around them. As I got older, I still love flowers, but I think that I'm more of a plant person as far as like succulents and greens versus like gardening flowers. When I was talking to the artist, I told him I don't want to have tattoos that everyone else has. I don't want it to look like stuff everyone else has, and I also don't really want flowers on my body unless they were like traditional style, but I want plants, and I don't care what plants. I would prefer succulents, maybe some ferns, something like that. Beyond that, I don't really care. Draw whatever you want. And I told him that in, I think, January, and I didn't get the tattoo until April. And I walked into the shop and he goes, "Are you ready to see it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he put down the sketch on the counter, and I legit got tears in my eyes because I just thought it was so freaking cool. And it was a tattoo that I knew no one else had, and just something that I knew I would freaking love. For people who don't have any tattoos, when you get a sketch, you don't get the shading and everything in it, you just get the outline. And I sat in the chair for a little bit over 4 hours for this one. I think this one was probably a 7, which overall I would say it was a 5, but after you're sitting there forever, your skin just feels so raw, and it feels like people are snapping rubber bands on you for hours. I remember getting done and I stood up and looked in the mirror at my arm, and I literally cried. I was like, this is the coolest fucking tattoo. What made me even happier about it is that the fact it was a custom piece, like he drew it for me. All I know is that it's gonna be hard to top this because this is just, I love it. I stare at it all the time still, like 6 months later. I just am so in love with it. And that is all the tattoos that I have for now. If you guys do live in the greater Madison area or know any tattoo artists in the greater Madison area, please link them down below. I would love to find a tattoo artist that's a little bit closer. Or if you guys have any ideas for what I should put right here in this little gap here, link them down below and let me know what you think I should get tattooed. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. As always, I enjoy making it for you. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below, as well as give this video a thumbs up. And like I said, if you guys do know any tattoo artists or have any tattoo ideas, you can link them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at and learning about my tattoos. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and night wherever you may be, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.